Welcome to Trade Talk, the podcast where construction pros connect, share, and grow. Brought to you by Contractors Connect, this show dives into real-world issues facing today's builders on and off the job site.
Whether you're swinging a hammer, running a crew, or scaling a business, we've got the insights, stories, and expert tips to help you level up in the building industry.
I'm Sarah White.
And I'm Erin Bacher. And together, we'll be talking shop with industry leaders, tradespeople, and innovators who are shaping the future of construction.
Let's get to work. This is Trade Talk. Welcome back to Trade Talk, the podcast where construction pros connect, share, and grow. I'm your host, Sarah.
And I'm Erin, and today we're talking about a topic that impacts every business, no matter the size, and that's your people.
That's right. We're diving into recruitment, retention, and performance management, 3 things that can make or break your business.
Right. And while the construction industry has its own unique challenges, there's so much we can learn from a broader HR best practice.
Yes, absolutely. So we have Ashley Curtin, who's an HR professional with us today, and she is going to be talking to us about how companies can find, keep, and maintain a workforce that works for your company.
Yep. Ashley's worked with a lot of different companies and industries, built strong teams, created strong workforces, and we're excited to talk to her today.
Right. So whether you're running a construction crew or any type of business, this episode is going to be packed with lots of information that can help you.
Let's do it.
If you're in the construction industry and your marketing feels more like a punch list than a plan, it might be time to call in the pros. At Bespoke Consulting, we help contractors and construction businesses get noticed with branding that builds trust, websites that convert, and marketing strategies that actually move the needle. Want to grow your business without wasting time or money? Start with Bespoke. Learn more at bespokeconsulting.com.
All right, Ashley, welcome to Trade Talk. We're glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I know you've got a lot of advice to share. And so why don't we dive in and you can tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I started in human resources. Gosh, I'm going to age myself almost 20 years ago at this point, primarily hospitality, kind of working my way through, moved through hospitality, human resources, then to property management, which was a really fun segue, and then into private consulting, and then ultimately now I consult for myself.
Nice.
Awesome. So from your perspective, what are some universal HR challenges across all industries? Because it sounds like you've been in multiple.
Yeah, I have. The biggest one is honestly just hiring. It's so hard to find the right person. I heard it spoken perfectly not too long ago, and it was actually, how in the world do you sit with a person for an hour and then you essentially create this relationship, you marry them? It would be like dating someone for a week and going, okay, let's get married and have babies, and it's just so difficult to really get a good feel of the people that you're bringing into your organization in an hour. Almost impossible.
Yeah.
So we've run across that no matter what level, whether it's C-suite, line level staff member, it's just, hiring's hard.
I could see that for sure, especially when a lot of times you're looking for an employee that's not going to be there for, a year or two. You're hoping for somebody who grows with your company. So an hour-long interview doesn't really give you a good picture on who that person is.
No, not at all. Not at all. And we've seen like a huge shift in hiring. It used to be you fill out an application and you have a resume and then you get a phone call from HR, and then the hiring manager sits with you, and then boom, you're done. And we've seen kind of a shift to more of a conversational, peer-to-peer interviews, multiple interviews, roundtable interviews, doing a lot of fun stuff that isn't just tell me about a time when, or what was your biggest challenge? Those are terrible questions. Everyone needs to stop asking those.
Well, that kind of leads into my next question. Like, what do we do about this? Because we see, I talked to a construction company yesterday that is desperate to hire a manager to kind of help keep all of the pogs pogging,
Yeah.
What are some suggestions of making the hiring process easier?
Yeah. So, one of the biggest things that we've seen and actually works really well is that you look at an individual's skill set as a whole, and 15% of that is hard skills. Can I type on a computer? Can I open up my laptop? Can I bang a hammer? Whatever it is, those are your hard skills. And then the rest are soft skills, stuff that you really can't figure out on paper and you don't see. Problem solving, stick-to-itiveness, the ability to adapt and collaborate with people. And so what we've seen is people shifting a little bit more to focusing more on the soft skills and less on what you can do on paper. And that's where you get those much better hires. And thinking outside the box, too. So if you're a manager in a construction industry, do you necessarily have to have done that in that exact same job, in that exact same industry? And the answer is no, because you need those soft skills, and then the rest are completely teachable.
Right. And so you want to find somebody who has the ability to learn and adapt and work well in your company. And I think I mentioned to you on the phone that we just did a podcast with Rosa Santiago Zimmerman. And she said she does interviews over 3 days. And she has, I think she said like 200 questions or something like that she asked. And she said one of the questions is, what does your closet look like right now? And she said if she's interviewing somebody to be an assistant and they say, oh, my closet's a disaster, it's so unorganized and messy, then she's like, well, then you don't have what it takes to do this job. So whether or not your resume says you have all these skills, you don't have the personal organization skills that I need for this position.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it goes, and again, we're making this like a very rudimentary example, but you have an individual and maybe their job is carpentry, and that's their specific task. Well, obviously, they're going to have to be able to use a hammer. But if they get up on the roof and they run out of nails, or there's something wrong while they're up there, that's that soft skill piece. Like, okay, you need to use a hammer, but can you also figure stuff out without derailing the entire project? Or are you not a very trustworthy person and you just go, well, ran out of nails and I'm going to go down.
Time to go home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So those are the soft skill pieces that you find in a multi-day interview, in like EQ exams where you're looking for emotional intelligence, or just kind of those oddball questions.
Right.
Of what does your closet look like?
Yeah.
In the construction industry, I would say, and this is a guess, but I would think that more people are paid hourly in the field, maybe in the office as well. How do you find somebody that you can trust uses time wisely?
To be honest, and it's difficult to say this to leaders, because these are the questions that are being lobbed by them, is that's a leadership role. That's a leadership responsibility. You inspect what you expect. That is the adage that's been said constantly. So if you want your employees to use their time wisely, use it responsibly, and make the best use of every single minute, they need to see their supervisors doing that. They need to see you doing that. And then on top of that, you, the leader, have to go back and make sure that that's actually happening. You can't just say, Erin, you need to do X, Y, Z. Peace out, I'm going to lunch for 3 hours. There's that, everything.
It's a trickle-down effect.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Calling all women in construction, this is your moment to build boldly. Join us for the Built to Lead Women in Construction Summit, happening August 21st at the Emerald Grand in Destin, Florida. This one-day event brings together industry leaders for powerful keynotes, breakout sessions, and real talk about leadership, growth, and opportunity in the building world. Space is limited, so grab your ticket now at contractors-connect.com/contracther. Let's break ground together. So why don't we talk a little bit about younger generations? Because I do know there's a difference in how younger generations interact in the workplace and what they're looking for. What can employers do to maybe change up their hiring process to appeal to younger people?
Yeah, so the biggest shift that people have seen is that everyone's heard work-life balance. And so the lines aren't as harsh as they used to be. I clock out at 5, I go home, my job ends. And now that younger generation almost expects work and life to be coexisting constantly, which is fine. There's just a different way to combat that. So you, the employer, have a responsibility to engage with your staff member. What is your personal life like? It sounds silly to say this, but it's your birthday. There's donuts in the break room. It's such a small thing, but it shows you're not just a cog in my wheel. You're actually a human. And I want to talk about your personal life while we're also working. And you can do it pretty seamlessly and in an authentic way, and people really care about it. They enjoy things like that.
Advice.
Yeah. I agree.
So, I mean, HR really is such a, I think we go straight to recruiting when we think of it because that's such a problem. And we think, this is on the applicants, like what can we, but it really is a team process, and everybody in the company should be involved and displaying what you're looking for in the future employees.
Absolutely. Well, and it, again, starts with the leader. That responsibility and that accountability starts from the top. And if you have a really strong sense of company culture, you know what you're about, you do what you say and say what you do, and it's just bled into everyday life, then those are the types of employees that you'll attract. And then when you get somebody that walks in the door, you're doing those multi-peer interviews with line-level staff members, supervisors, and the leader. The second you see a person that doesn't quite fit that culture, it's easy to snuff it out before it gets there, because it is, the wrong employee can be a disease. It can just absolutely destroy what you already worked so hard to put into place. And it's awful when it happens. It really is.
We've definitely seen that.
Yes, and I worked at Shands, and they did peer interviews, and they had multiple levels of interviews. It started with the HR person, then you had like a phone interview I think it started with a phone interview with the HR person, then you came in for an interview with the manager, and then you did a peer interview as well. And I did have a peer interview, but I also participated in them. And I for sure think that makes a difference, because you can, when you buy into a new hire, you want them to be successful. You like them, as opposed to somebody being thrust upon you that you maybe don't think is a great fit. And while I was there, we actually had a director that was hired who did not go through that process, and the whole team just did not buy into her being the director. We didn't think she had the right skill set, and it was like a poison.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it really, especially when you have companies that are smaller. Small businesses don't have all of those different tiers, and they don't need to necessarily. So when you're bringing somebody in, again, using that marriage analogy, hi, I just met you for 10 minutes. Let's get married and stay together for several years. And oh, by the way, I have these kids. You just met them. You have to have that little bit of a buy-in from your staff too. They don't get the ultimate say, but it is important to kind of get a temperature gauge on, is this a good fit? What do you see? What do you know about this person? We have the benefit of living in such a small community that those references are so important, and they're so often overlooked.
Yes. So many people don't call references.
No, which blows my mind, especially in an organization like y'all's, where you have all of the different industry experts from all these different groups, and you've got electricians, and you've got carpenters, and you've got plumbers. You have to have had a person that has interacted here. It takes 5 minutes to say, hey, man, this guy came across my desk. What was your experience like?
Right.
And most of the time, people are really happy to give reviews of past employees, and most of the time they're positive, but they're even happier to give you feedback if they're not. So it's usually not hard to get.
Yeah.
No, and it's what I've seen before, which is super strange again, is that a lot of folks, and I wonder if this happens with the different groups that you work with, they kind of hold it close to chest. So, oh, this guy used to work for my buddy over here. I don't want to call and make him feel like I'm stealing him. And that's just, I don't know that leaders feel that way.
Right.
So you just make the phone call and try.
Yeah. Right. So once you've hired the right person, what can you do to make sure that they want to stay in the job? What are the reasons that people typically leave a job?
Number one reason why people leave a job is their leader, always. It has been for years. It will continue to be. Again, not to put the pressure on the leader, but that's where it is. You are creating the culture of your entire company, and you hear often people say, oh, I left for this reason, left for that reason. People will stay for lower money, better culture, better leadership.
Absolutely.
And with a small business, you don't really have the ability, or most companies don't have the ability to give these massive Shan's benefits and a 401k match and free childcare. But what you can give them is, I'm invested in your future. Hey, I hired you to frame this roof, but I see something. Let's talk about mentorship.
Right.
Let's talk about connecting you with this guy over here that owns an electrical company, and you told me 3 weeks ago that you had a slight interest. So you're not losing a staff member. You're creating a peer and creating this like insular industry and showing that you care.
That kind of
Bringing
goes
people
back
up.
to acknowledging them personally. If, maybe it's a parent that needs to go watch the end of the year performance at the elementary school, make that happen for them.
All 72 of them.
All 50. Where they all get a piece of paper.
And it takes 6 hours.
Exactly. Just to park.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, those are the kinds of things, that you need to make happen for your employees to be happy.
And it's engagement. Like, I can't say that enough. That engaging with your staff members, showing them that you're a person, you are a human, you have a family, you have interests, and then not only that, but showing them there is a way out of here.
Right.
If you hire a person and you treat it like this is their job, this is what I hired you for, here's your paycheck on Friday, that's what you're going to get.
Right.
If you hire an individual and say, this is what I've hired you for, this is what I see, but there's something bigger, whether it's with me or somebody else, then you're going to get a person that genuinely cares about you as a person, your company, and their growth potential. That type of work, you can't fabricate. It's incredible.
I love that. I love that.
On that note, what can smaller companies do to offer professional development to employees?
Again, it's very simple. Just engage with your staff. So using you guys as a great example. So you've got, if I'm building a house, right, there's so many different pieces. And Erin, I'm going to look at you because you've got all of these different, you've got a roofer, you've got a plumber, you've got an electrician, you've got the individual that's pouring the foundation. Those are different career paths all underneath the same umbrella of construction. And one could assume that if I have the aptitude for one, then I potentially have the aptitude to learn and grow in the other. And so making those connections and letting your staff know, you're hired here, but you can do so much more. Tell me what you want. Where do you see yourself? There's a gentleman I listened to. He also has a podcast, and he was talking about creating and showing an example, especially to your younger employees, your line level staff members. This could be a career. So getting out of that, the mentality of construction is dirty, and this was the path that we took because we couldn't get into college. That couldn't be further from the truth. You see people in all walks of life making their job a career and becoming successful. And the difference is this is a career, this is a mindset versus this is my paycheck. I'll see you next week.
Right.
And so showing that example, again, putting it on the leader of, hey, I'm in my suit, I'm clean, I'm here, I'm with you. You can be successful doing this job.
Right.
Yeah. We see at Contractors Connect that there's a lot of pride in the construction industry locally, and I think beyond. It's something to be proud of. I mean, it's hard work, but to be able to start something in a lot of cases from nothing and create this company that's changing lives and businesses, and you should be proud of it.
Yeah.
And that should bleed into how your employees feel about their job as well.
100%.
Right. And looking at it as this doesn't have to just be a job, it can be a career. And
Absolutely.
so helping them find the path.
My father-in-law is a dentist, and my husband owns a roofing company. And my father-in-law always says there's so much more room to be even more successful, really, as a contractor. And it's better work-life balance because if you're a dentist, you are only making money when you are in somebody's mouth, you know?
Yeah.
And otherwise, a contractor can grow their company and get to the point that they can go on vacation and the company still chugging along and, things like that. And I think there's something to be said for that. And everybody should be proud of that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that goes, again, just with those, if we tie it back to those younger people, I think there's definitely a gap in the trade. Everybody knows this. I think the current statistic is as 7 to 9 leave, 1 comes in, which is a huge gap in that specific trade. So rolling back up to that leader, are you going to the trade schools? Are you going to high schools? Are you going to the job fairs? Right. Are you showing these young kids, hey, man, this is a possibility. This is what you can do with this. These are the different ways that you can take your life and your career, because I don't know that they know. And I think that's where that gap came from, is we went from hard work was the way to get forward. And that's kind of our aging generation that's coming out of the trade. Then we had a group of kids that college is the only way, and they weren't skilled in the trade. And now we have another group that are like, well, they worked and they were successful. They went to college. Some are successful, some are not. Yeah. Maybe there's a different way to do this. Right. But they need to be led by example. Right. They need those leaders to come back in.
I think you hit on something that is important for recruitment too, and that's job fairs.
Oh yeah. Job fairs are there's 2 different types of job fairs. There's the stand in a room and people come around in a circle. I don't want to say you won't, but rarely are you going to get an applicant that way. Right. What you will do is have an opportunity to talk to people and spark them. Right. So that is truly just like an outreach program, for lack of a better word. But if you go to the high schools, if you go to the trade schools, if you start there where they're still trying to figure out what they want, or even colleges, there's no reason why you couldn't go there, and you just talk to people, plug in with counselors. Hey, do you have this event coming up? Do you have a kid that maybe needs some help, or you've identified as an individual with X, Y, and Z skill that you're trying to steer in a right direction? The counselors know, and it's just another way in.
We need to do a better job with Contractors Connect, getting involved in the trade school and maybe getting our members going in there and saying, we're looking for people. I'm glad that we talked about this.
Right.
Well, and we... my husband and I own a bike rental company, and we've gotten several employees from the trade school, and it's just like a launch pad to while they're getting trained, to their next career path. So we've been intimately involved with these younger kids that are trying to find their way. They know that they're not going to leave and live with us forever, and that's totally fine. But what can I do as an employer to build them up for the next thing? How can I help them figure out what they want? We had a gentleman who went to welding school, very, very talented. He actually had an opportunity to do welding for us for a project. Then he went off and went to, I think it was West Virginia, for a gig, 30 days, long hours. All the welding people know what that's like. Came back and he was like, I had no idea. I didn't want that. I was only focused on the job. I wasn't focused on the lifestyle. My family, my work-life balance, and that's just as important. You may want a job, but does the job want you? Do you actually want all the pieces that come with the job?
Want to grow your network and your business? Join Contractors Connect, the go-to networking group for professionals in the building industry. For just $400 a year, members get 4 complimentary meetup tickets per year, a featured spot in our online directory, visibility at every Contractors Connect event, and more. Whether you're a contractor, vendor, or service pro, there's a place for you here. Join today at contractors-connect.com/memberships, and let's build something great together.
Now that you have these great employees, you've done all this recruiting, you have retention policies in place where you're making people feel welcome. What about the other side of it, performance management? How do you coach employees to be better?
Yeah. So with performance management, my first gut instinct is a PIP, every HR person performance improvement plan. That is the very reactionary. You screwed up. You're almost out the door. Let's talk about why you're going to leave. So you almost want to, from a performance management perspective, do everything you can before you get to the performance improvement plan. Because once you get on it, it's like 10% of people end up staying. The rest leave. Because if you're handed, it would be no different. Again, using that marriage analogy, if your partner goes, can you sign this? I've got the papers drafted for our divorce. We don't need to sign them now, but in 30 days, let's talk about it. What are you going to think about? Well, how are you going to act? Are you going?
A solid point.
Exactly. So the PIP is the worst thing. I almost
you want
to
catch it before you get to that point.
Absolutely.
Well, I think the point is you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's for legal reasons.
Correct.
And that's not necessarily...
They probably know that.
And they know that.
But it's not necessarily a way to motivate employees to do better.
Not at all. Not at all. And that, again, blaming it on the leader and putting it on their shoulders, but that engagement starts with them. So when you see something, the old adage was the sandwich. Erin, you do this well, but you struggle here. But you're really great at this.
The compliment sandwich,
That's old. We don't use that anymore.
Okay.
And it's because people see it coming. And with the current generation and the workforce of having kind of a shorter attention span, I hear some of it. I don't hear all of it. And you don't know what they're actually listening to.
It's not you. It's me. But it's really you.
But it's really you. And then, butterfly. And they kind of forget what you're talking about. I definitely think direct is the best approach, but in the way, kind of going back inward. So I have an employee who's here, but I need them to be here. As the employer, my job is to build that bridge. I'm responsible for that, not them. And so if you start inward and go, what could I do? What tools do they need? What training do they need? How can I help you? And then you start with that, and then you get curious.
I mean, that's it. That's huge. That's what, anytime that we ever have a client or, anybody that's got a big employee problem, that is the missing piece. Like and I know that, but I'm like really thinking through things as I sit here and listen to you.
Yeah.
I mean,
but you just pull it back, and it all goes back to accountability. We're leaders because we got here for a reason. Well, now we have this huge responsibility. I put you in this role. Maybe you're not doing great at all of it, some of it, whatever it may be. It's my responsibility to give you the tools to be good, to be great.
Right.
And maybe you won't. Maybe we missed something, and this isn't the role for you.
Maybe you're not the right fit.
Exactly. So then we pivot. And a lot of times it used to be that people, if you were good here, then we just slowly promote you. And then we promote you out of your skill set. Then you'd have these terrible managers who were really good at their job, 3 promotions back.
Right.
And we miss that.
Because we think moving up is your reward for your good work, but
Correct.
you're not necessarily the right person for that job.
You're kind of
You're
drowning
really
them.
great at this part of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so maybe you can reward people in their positions in other ways besides a promotion.
Absolutely.
Or besides being a manager or a leader.
Right. Or
Absolutely.
a pivot, per se. Like, they could be promoted monetarily.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And again, going back to engagement. So if I know my staff member that well, that, hey, we're here, we need to be here, I've built them a bridge, I've tried to get them up to where they need to be, and it's just not working. If I'm doing my job and I'm really engaging, I know, listen, Erin's not that good at math. However,
Oh, God, you're right.
great. Erin's not that good at math. My choice is to bang my head on the table, lose her, and lose myself in the process. Or I go, but you know what? Erin is phenomenal with the customers. Phenomenal with the customers. Can I pivot? Can I move? And that's being smarter with your workforce than just going, not good, we're done.
I see this with sales positions a lot.
Yes.
Where, which you see a ton of in the construction industry, where people are like, man, they're just not producing. And I'm like, they're not a natural salesperson. Like, we probably could have figured that out in the first interview.
Right.
You know?
Which goes back to hiring the right person.
Right. Like, and you just can't, there's some skills you just can't teach.
Right.
No.
You know?
Right. And so that is where you really need to have the right questions and identify the characteristics of the type of person who's going to be successful in a position, so you even know what you're looking for.
Absolutely.
Because just because they have all these skills on a piece of paper and they went to this school doesn't mean they have the characteristics to be successful at what you need them to do.
100%. And we've seen people move away from the here's my resume. Here's what school I went to. Now, there are certain skill sets and things that there are certain jobs you have to have, no questions asked. Engineers are always going to have a degree, medical, things like that. But for the most part, the skill set, and there's kind of a really pretty diagram, but you've got your inner characteristics and the person's heart, those traits that are mostly, they're non-moving. That's what they are. That's who they are. And then on the outside, you have the skills and things that they learned. My very first job was actually in human resources. I was hired as the receptionist. I had never been a receptionist. I had never worked in an office, but they saw this piece in me and were like, I can teach you how to answer the phone. I can teach you how to type on a computer.
I bet you rocked it.
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
It was
That's
so
like me
much
with
fun.
waiting tables. I love waiting tables. I haven't done it since college, but I'm a people person.
Yes. Well, and that's it. And when you look at jobs and hiring people, it's not about Erin is good at waiting tables. What is Erin good at? Erin good is talking people. She engages with people. She genuinely listens and communicates. You could be a master organizer and know which table is which and which entree goes with which.
It's like a game to me in my head.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's picking up those pieces and figuring out and getting a little bit creative with it. You cannot just, you swung a hammer yesterday, you're going to swing a hammer tomorrow. Where am I taking the company? What am I trying to do with my staff? Let's get a little bit smarter about who we're bringing in. Do you have a great attitude? Have you worked through some tough challenges in your life? Do you fit well in my company? I think I might be able to teach you how to swing a hammer. And that's I don't want to say better, but I would prefer that way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Should we move to rapid fire?
Yeah, but I have one question. All right, I have one question. Okay. I was just sitting here thinking that you've mentioned different questions to ask, personality test. You just talked about a diagram. What are some of these resources that people could find and use?
I know this is absolutely hilarious, but ChatGPT is phenomenal. People like me, your smaller companies don't have HR, and they don't need them, honestly. The ratio for an HR professional, if you have a really robust group, is 1 to 50. So if you don't have that big of a workforce, you don't necessarily need a person like me, but you can hire a person like me and say, hey, I need 2 hours of your time to put together some questions or to sit down. You can go on the internet. There's tons of resources there. So it's changing the way that we look at where we're getting our information.
Well, you're a consultant. So
I am.
You could work with somebody on a small basis or large.
Yeah.
Could we talk you into helping us with some downloadables for our listeners attached to this episode?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's definitely a launch pad, a place to start and go, okay, I can move from here. I can go from here. This doesn't really work for my company, and I can switch from here. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, that'd be great. We'll give them a toolkit.
I feel like so often when you're going in to interview a person, you are probably busy doing something else, and then you're sitting there like 5 minutes before, what am I going to ask them? So to have some set questions that get you moving in the right direction, I think would be so helpful.
Especially that are kind of tweaked to a certain, especially like sales. I feel like we need to get a little more creative in the construction industry when we're interviewing salesmen. Like, can they really sell?
Right.
Well, and bring them in to either an uncomfortable situation or to find out what their comfortable situation is. I had a gentleman that I worked for years ago that would do out-of-the-office interviews. Nothing was done in the office, and he would make the individual pick a place to do the interviews.
Interesting.
And so it was interesting, the psychology behind it. So you'd get some people that would go, oh, I want to go to the Grand Marlin or Vintage or whatever. Right. Those are all fine. But then you get an individual that goes, hey, let's meet at Waffle House. You're starting to learn a little bit more about that person, and you've never interviewed them yet. You haven't seen them, nothing. And so you kind of put the pieces together because we're hiring an entire person, not just a skill set. That's where it gets fun.
Yeah. All right, Ashley, this has been amazing, but I can see that our time is running out for this episode. We don't want to let you go, though. So for our listeners, tune in because we're going to keep going, and there's going to be a part 2. See you next Tuesday. Thanks for tuning into Trade Talk, powered by Contractors Connect, where construction pros connect, share, and grow.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like and subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your crew.
Until next time,
Stay sharp
stay safe.
and keep building.